You are sitting in a meeting. Your leg is bouncing. You force it to stop. You carefully script your next sentence in your head so you do not sound obsessed or eccentric. You smile. You nod. You feel exhausted. Society calls this professionalism. Neuroscience calls it biological suicide. Right now, the act of hiding your weirdness, a process clinical psychologists call masking, is burning through massive reserves of glucose in your prefrontal cortex. You are literally starving the very neural pathways designed to generate wealth just to make average people feel comfortable around you. But what if the quirks you are so desperately trying to suppress are not flaws? What if your obsessive hyperfixation, your inability to maintain eye contact, and your bizarre routines are actually the exact evolutionary algorithms that power the top 0.1% of earners? You have been taught to cure your eccentricities. Stop it. Today, we are going to look at the brain scans of the financial elite, and you will realize that trying to be normal is the most expensive mistake your biology can make. Let us examine the great modern lie of the well-rounded individual. From the moment you enter the corporate ecosystem, you are fed a meticulously crafted survival script. You are told to smooth out your rough edges. You're instructed to master small talk, to be a team player, to suppress your obsessive tangents, to read the room, and to project an aura of calm, frictionless competence. You invest thousands of hours and unimaginable amounts of psychological energy trying to become this flawless, agreeable archetype. You buy self-help books that preach the gospel of emotional intelligence and social adaptability, believing that blending in is the ultimate prerequisite for climbing the economic ladder. But here is the brutal truth that the corporate machine desperately wants to hide from you. The pursuit of being a well-rounded, socially digestible human being is not a strategy for exceptional wealth. It is a factory setting designed to produce compliant labor. When you force your brain to conform to these frictionless social standards, you are not improving yourself. You are engaging in a devastating process of cognitive homogenization. Think about the sheer volume of data your brain processes when you try to act normal. Every time you swallow a hyper-fixated thought, because it might seem weird, every time you meticulously adjust your tone of voice to sound more approachable, and every time you force eye contact when your brain desperately wants to look away. You are burning premium cognitive fuel. You are taxing your working memory. You are actively siphoning electrical energy away from the deep-thinking executive centers of your brain and redirecting it toward a trivial social threat detection system. You are essentially running a massive background application that consumes 80% of your mental bandwidth just to prove to the tribe that you are not a threat. You are not failing because you are weird. You are exhausted because you are trying to operate a high-performance, asymmetrical biological machine using a user manual written for a mediocre lawnmower. The most profitable minds in human history are never well-rounded. They are jagged. They are fundamentally lopsided. They possess glaring deficits in social conformity, offset by monstrous, obsessive capacities in highly specific domains. Your strange habits, your intense singular focus, your tendency to pace the empty room while talking to yourself, or your absolute disdain for trivial conversations. These are not character flaws. They are not moral failings. They are the physical manifestations of a nervous system that violently refuses to be deluded by the mediocre demands of the herd. Society diagnosed your eccentricities as a liability. They were entirely wrong. It is time to stop apologizing for your lack of social polish. It is time to drop the psychological theories and look at what is actually happening underneath your skull. Because the moment you understand the sheer metabolic cost of being normal, you will never want to be average again. Let us bypass the behavioral science entirely and stare directly into the brutal neurochemical war zone happening inside your bloodstream right now. Forget morality. Forget willpower. You are nothing but a fleshy vessel carrying a highly volatile electrical network. Let us zoom into your prefrontal cortex during one of your so-called weird moments. You are avoiding eye contact. You are tapping your fingers. You are pacing the room. Society labels this as awkwardness. Biology calls it cognitive heat dissipation. Watch the scan. Look closely at the blood flow. Right now, your brain is processing complex variables at an extreme velocity. This is neural overclocking. It requires astronomical amounts of metabolic fuel. The electrical friction is building up inside your skull. Your synapses are practically sparking. Dopamine and noradrenaline are flooding the specific pathways dedicated to pattern recognition. If you force yourself to sit still, if you force yourself to smile and stare into someone's eyes, a catastrophic shift occurs. Your visual cortex and social processing centers violently hijack the blood supply. Glucose plummets in the executive network. Lactic acid builds up. The core processor crashes. So, your autonomic nervous system steps in to save you from a psychological stroke. It initiates repetitive physical movements. Pacing, tapping, mumbling, avoiding the gaze of others. These are not symptoms of a psychological defect. This is a highly sophisticated neurotuning protocol. It bleeds off the excess electrical static. It shuts down peripheral visual processing by deliberately breaking eye contact, redirecting that saved glucose straight back into your analytical problem-solving centers. The top 0.1% of earners do not possess magical intelligence. They simply possess a mutant neuroarchitecture that violently prioritizes high-value processing over low-value social performance. They allow the cooling protocol to run. They let themselves look weird so their cognitive core can operate at maximum capacity without melting down into a puddle of cortisol. Every time you feel ashamed for needing a bizarre daily routine, for hyperfixating on a microscopic niche detail, or for abruptly retreating into silence mid-conversation, you are fundamentally misunderstanding your own hardware. Your nervous system is not failing you. It is protecting the most valuable asset you own. It is forcibly disconnecting you from the useless, energy-draining noise of the tribe to preserve the exact neural pathways required for extreme outlier success. You are completely exonerated. Your eccentricities are not a disease. They are a biological masterpiece. They are the physical evidence of a brain operating at a terrifying frequency. But this raises a very disturbing question. Why did nature design a brain that functions like a turbocharged, unstable nuclear reactor? Why build a machine that willingly sacrifices social cohesion for obsessive, isolated focus? To find the answer, we must abandon the modern world completely. We must step outside the laboratory. We must strip away the concrete, the office buildings, and the algorithms. We must travel back 200,000 years into the brutal, unforgiving logic of human evolution. Let us rip the camera away from your pulsing synapses and throw it 200 years into the past, right into the suffocating soot of the first industrial revolution. Before the concrete office blocks, before the fluorescent lights and corporate ladders, humanity operated under the raw, unpredictable rhythm of the wild. For hundreds of thousands of years on the open savanna, apex predators did not survive by blending in. A pack of wolves or a tribe of early human hunters did not thrive on conformity. They survived because certain outlier individuals possessed hypervigilance, obsessive tracking skills, and an unpredictable, jagged neurobiology that could outsmart the chaos of nature. The apex predator is inherently weird. It has to be. But then, the architects of the modern economy built the factory floor. They invented the assembly line. Suddenly, the chaotic, brilliant, obsessive apex predator became a liability. The industrial age did not want mutant problem solvers. It wanted compliant cogs. It demanded a docile labor force that would clock in, sit perfectly still, stare straight ahead, and repeat the exact same monotonous tasks without ever questioning the system. The entire modern educational and corporate infrastructure was aggressively engineered to mass-produce well-rounded, predictable, identical workers. They pathologized the hunter. They medicated the outlier. They took a magnificent biological machine, forged in the brutal, bloody fires of natural selection, and chained it to a sterile desk. You are not failing to be normal. You are a victim of a historical conspiracy. The crushing weight you feel every morning is the friction between your apex predator DNA and a society explicitly designed by industrialists to domesticate you. When you feel alienated in a crowded open-plan office, it is not because you are socially defective. It is because your nervous system is screaming in agony against an artificial environment that is actively trying to neutralize your evolutionary advantages. Every time you are told to be more approachable, to smooth out your intense focus, and to act like everyone else, you are being commanded to betray millions of years of evolutionary triumph. This is the great mismatch of our species. The global economy relies entirely on the explosive innovations of eccentric minds, yet its daily structures are explicitly designed to punish those very same minds. But you do not have to participate in this grand homogenization. You possess the ultimate right to reject an era that was programmed to harvest your conformity. You are not an assembly line product. You are a biological anomaly, carrying the exact neurochemical signature of the hunters who conquered the planet. You have permission to drop the heavy, suffocating mask of normalcy. You are acquitted of all charges of weirdness by the highest court of human evolution. Now, stop analyzing the history. Drop the evolutionary timelines. The roar of the factory machines is fading. The vast expanse of the ancient savanna is dissolving into nothingness. We are leaving the grand scale of the species behind, returning to the absolute, undeniable silence of this exact physical moment. Take a slow, deep breath. Your pulse is gradually slowing down. The heavy burden of centuries is finally lifting off your shoulders. The data is gone. The heavy evolutionary timelines and the deafening noise of the industrial machines have all been completely erased from this room. There is only the quiet, steady rhythm of your own breathing in this exact physical moment. Feel the warm air moving slowly through your lungs, gently expanding the space behind your ribs. You do not need to fight anymore. For so many agonizing years, you have treated your own beautiful mind as a defective mechanism that required constant, exhausting supervision. You have burned through the best years of your life trying to file down your jagged, brilliant edges just to fit seamlessly into a perfectly round, frictionless mold. But absolute perfection is merely a comfortable illusion, a sterile concept manufactured by a society that is terrified of the unpredictable. It is finally time to let that exhausting, counterfeit version of yourself quietly pass away in the dark. Let the polite, perfectly agreeable, desperately normal mask simply crumble into dust on the floor beneath your feet. You do not need to mourn it. There is a profound, breathtaking beauty in fully accepting that you were never designed to be universally understood by the masses. Right here, in this profound silence, I am handing you the ultimate existential resignation letter. Today you are officially authorized to resign from the crushing, soul-destroying obligation of being normal. Your obsessive hyperfixations, your awkward silences, your bizarre routines, and your strange physical rhythms are not defects that need to be medicated, hidden, or apologized for. They are the sacred, asymmetrical architecture of a highly specialized cognitive engine. This magnificent, lopsided brain of yours is the only genuine interface you have to interact with the vastness of the universe. It is precisely this weird, unpolished asymmetry that allows you to see the lucrative, world-bending patterns that the rest of the synchronized herd is completely blind to. You do not owe the world a smooth, easily digestible, heavily diluted version of your existence. The friction you naturally create when you stop conforming is not a mistake. That friction is the exact spark that generates immense wealth, emotional depth, and unapologetic power. Your weirdness is the most profitable asset you will ever own, acting as a divine shield that protects your core brilliance from the mundane, gray noise of the collective crowd. You have always been whole, precisely because you are flawed. The heavy armor of normalcy now lies shattered and useless at your feet. The door to your invisible prison has been left wide open by the very science that vindicated you. So, a heavy choice now rests entirely in your hands. Tomorrow morning, when the sun inevitably rises and the modern world loudly demands your compliance once again, will you bend down to pick up those broken pieces of your fake mask? Or will you finally dare to step into the daylight as the magnificent anomaly you were born to be? You have made your choice. You have accepted your brilliant, asymmetrical mind. You finally feel liberated. But this intellectual freedom is a dangerous, temporary illusion. Your conscious brain has proudly embraced your eccentricities, but there is a deeply primitive structure hiding inside your skull that absolutely refuses to forgive you. Tonight, around 3 in the morning, when the world is entirely silent, your amygdala will suddenly wake you up. It will forcibly replay a devastatingly awkward, bizarre thing you said or did 5 years ago. Your stomach will tie itself into a violent knot. Your core temperature will rapidly drop. The shame will feel completely physical. This is the brutal physiological torture of the cringe memory. You can philosophically accept your weirdness all you want, but until you learn how to surgically hack this autonomous biological playback loop, your nervous system will constantly punish you for stepping out of the herd. You are standing at a critical crossroad today. Will you allow your amygdala to endlessly torture you with the ghost of past social friction, or are you ready to violently rewrite your own neural conditioning? Tell me your choice in the comments below. Write it down to commit to your biological autonomy. Because there is a fatal flaw in that late-night panic response, a hidden biological backdoor left open by evolution, there is a specific physiological reset quirk that can permanently erase the visceral sting of a cringe memory in exactly 7 seconds. The precise mechanics of this neurological override and how you can trigger it on command, I will dissect for you in the next video.